All right, guys, welcome to another episode. I'm Orlando.
And I'm Omar,
We're the Smart Bros.
and this is a smart take.
All right, guys, this is going to be season 2, episode 7. We're back after our bye week, and we have a lot to get into. First, we got to go back over the Chargers game. We got to preview the Rams game, talk about the trade deadline coming up, talk about just the rest of the NFC, what the standings are looking like halfway through the season. And then we're also going to get into some of the things that's going on, some of the off the field things going on right now. Micah getting into it with the national media, but first, we're gonna get into that Chargers game. So, what are your thoughts, just right off the bat?
Oh, well, like you said, it's our bye week. So, we've had a little bit more time to think about it. And I just think Dak Prescott played one hell of a game. Every time we needed him to step up and make a big throw, he made it. And that's despite him, having some drops by Michael Gallup, which I wasn't a fan of his targets, but I think that should be CD. He should never have more targets than Cooks and CD combined. I don't think that should ever happen unless every single time you throw him the ball, he has caught it tonight. So it's like, or he's just wide open every play. But because he missed a dot from Dak for a touchdown, they were like, oh my God, he tipped it. If you look at the play, slow it down. He did not tip it. He literally just dropped it.
Right.
That's neither here nor there. Gallup's not bad. He hasn't really been the same since his injury, and that Amari trade just looks worse and worse every year, but hey, it is what it is. We're here now. We still won the game. But like I said, yeah, Dak, every time we needed him to step up, I truly don't like how we put Dak in these situations. Run the ball. Oh, now it's 3rd and 8. Dak, make a play. And that's not healthy for a quarterback. Don't get me wrong, you're a quarterback. If that's what happens, that's what happens. But like, you shouldn't have to be in that situation, game in, game out, drive in, drive out. Like, that's just, trying to make a play on 3rd and long every play is, it's not easy. We need to what happened? We need to get our short game right. We need to get our run game right, because our run game was abysmal last week, or not last week against the Chargers. It was, or really all year for the most part, just our line or some of our running. I don't know what it is, but our run game just has not been there. But I mean, they say Micah didn't really show up, but he led our team in pressures, of course. And when we needed him most, he stepped up, got a big sack. That can't go unnoticed. And then on back-to-back plays, Gilly, maybe he heard us. Maybe he heard everybody saying he lost a step, got a game. We were still up, but game-winning pick, basically, to shut him out, to beat Justin Herbert, as we always do. He's one of those golden boys in the NFL's media. So it's always nice to go out there and beat one of those upper echelon, top 3, top 5 quarterbacks, on prime time, and then it just makes it even better that Dak outplayed him. It's not even like they could try to say Dak got carried or what, this and that, but Dak was the reason we won. Like me and you talked to Dad after the game. I personally think we won this game because of Dak. They always be like, oh, you can't win because of Dak. You could just win with Dak. No, we won this game because of Dak, because of the plays he made, because he used his feet, because they were willing to run a 4th and 1 read option. He actually kept it, which we've been asking him to do. I'm not telling you I need you to be Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
Just be willing to run,
Make it a threat.
Let them know that you will run. Make it a threat. Make them at least think twice about will he run? Is he gonna run? That makes that offense that much scarier. I'm still not all the way happy with the team's offense and or defense. We still need to figure that what our offensive identity is. It's looking like we're a passing team, which I'm okay with. But if we're going to be a passing team, we need to be a passing team, and that means getting CD 10+ targets a game. You're not gonna win too many more games if Gallup is your number 1 receiver, getting more catches and or more receptions or targets than your best receiver and probably your receiver too as well. So that's how I feel. Overall, we still won. Happy with the win. I'm glad the bye came. Hopefully I mean, I saw Tyron Smith maybe was on the injury report with a neck. You know how that goes. But for the most part, I haven't seen too much about our injury list. So right now we're good. Diggs just got surgery. That's big. I mean, he won't come back this year, but at least he's already on way back for next year. But yeah, I mean, all in all, glad we won. Clearly, things we need to figure out. But hey, I'd rather win and figure it out than have lost and need to figure it out. But how do you
Right.
feel?
I mean, overall, happy with the win, of course, but you hit a lot of the points on the head. Biggest thing I was kind of upset with was not only Michael Gallup's amount of targets, because like you said, he had a ridiculous amount of targets with very minimal production, so I wasn't a big fan of that. But also just Mike McCarthy, the way he caught that game is I'm still not a fan of the way our offense is running, and then just his situational play calling. Down at the end of the half, we have 8 seconds left. And instead of calling the timeout and taking a shot at the end zone before getting the field goal, I get if there's like a few seconds left, you really don't have time, but there was enough time to run a play, take a shot at the end zone, and then kick the field goal. And he decided to just like, no, we'll just take the field goal instead of even taking the chance. And I just feel like that's not that's not going to win you games down the stretch. That's not going to win you games when you really need to. In a game where your defense isn't basically completely shutting the team out, when your defense isn't, getting creating stops and creating turnovers, you're going to need for more points. 20 points is enough to win that game, but it's not going to be enough to win every game. So I'm going to need Mike McCarthy to kind of change some stuff up. Maybe like take some chances sometimes. That's just what it's going to take to win games in the NFL. But other than that, I was pretty happy across the board. I wish our secondary could have got. I mean, that's like I said, they only held them they held them to 17 points, so I can't be too upset. They bent and they didn't break too much, but I was hoping
And
that
the fumble happened, so that helped them score another one as well.
absolutely, yeah, definitely. So I just wish that the one thing I want to point out is that, like you said, Stephon Gilmore definitely got that game-winning interception, and what he would have heard us saying was how he lost a step because in that game leading up to that, it was looking like he was a step behind. They were kind of getting him on those crossing routes, which is something we'll dive into a little bit later because the Rams love to do that. So we'll have to see what he can do. But getting into my predictions, I think I hit a lot of these kind of on the head. Starting with Dak, I predicted that he'd have 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he outperformed my predictions on the yards and had one less touchdown. He had 272 passing yards, even had 40 rushing yards, and then he had 2 touchdowns. I predicted that Tony Pollard would have 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. And another thing we weren't really able to get going in that game was the rushing attack. Our Tony Pollard, he only had 30 yards for 15 carries. That's 2 yards a carry. So, I mean, we were getting absolutely nothing on the ground other than that Dak touchdown, which completely caught everybody off guard. They weren't expecting him to run, which is why we wanted to be more of a threat because them expecting him to run, it opens up a lot more with that being a part of our offense. But getting back to my predictions, I predicted that just coming out of the game before the Chargers, I just thought that we would make CD, if we were going to have another game like the Jets where we made CD a crazy focal point of our offense, kind of force fed him the ball. And that's not what happened at all. I predicted that CD would have 10 catches for 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did have 7 catches for 170 yards. He didn't score, but Michael Gallup got a lot of those targets. I'm pretty sure he definitely ended the game with at least 10. And I just thought that would be CD's role in this game, but it wasn't. And I predicted that Brandon Cooks would have 50 yards, and he ended up with 36 yards in receiving and then 14 yards on the ground, which is exactly 50 yards, and he scored a touchdown. So that was his first touchdown of the season. And I mean, we're gonna get on here and I'll say it every week if I have to. Why are we running our offense the way we're running it? Why is Brandon Cooks not being a deep threat? Why is CD Lamb not being force fed the ball? Why is Michael Gallup not getting jump ball routes? I mean, we tried to get him the ball this game, and he just dropped it. I can't even fault anyone other than him on some of those. But I just think we're not using our offense. Mike McCarthy has said he's came out and said he wants to be a team that relies on the defense, a team that wins game behind the defense, which I mean, I don't see anything wrong with, but I don't think you should have to cripple your offense to do that. I feel like that should just naturally happen. You run your offense to the best of its ability, and then if by chance your offense is running as well as it can, but your defense is that much better and you're relying on your defense, then hey, of course that's how it is. But I don't think that's what you should be trying to do when you have an offense that's capable of being the number one offense in the NFL, which they've done before, and that was with a team that was on paper worse than the one we have right now. So I don't understand what his game plan is. I don't understand why he thinks this is a recipe for success. But I mean, it and honestly hasn't been. The Chargers have been the best team that we've beaten where yeah, that's the best team we've put. That simple as that. The Chargers are the best team we've beaten, and they're honestly not that good. They're not as good as the teams that we're gonna have to beat to get to where we want to go. So I feel like until we change some things up, I don't know. I don't. Mike McCarthy's going to be in for a rude awakening if he thinks this is going to be successful down the road. But hey, we're gonna take it week by week and see how it goes. I predicted that Micah Parsons would have a sack, and he did, and it came at the perfect time on their last drive to play right before Gilmore got that pick. They say big players make big time plays, and that's exactly what he did. And I predicted that D-Law didn't have a sack, but he didn't. But of course, like week in, week out, D-Law does what D-Law does, which is get pressure on the quarterback, make things as hard as possible for him. That was why Justin Herbert that played a part in why Justin Herbert played worse than Dak Prescott in that game. He was getting pressured by D Law and also Diggy Stewart because I'm pretty sure Micah was the only sack in that game.
Yeah.
But I mean that just a credit to him getting the ball out, but they definitely was under pressure a lot. And then I predicted that Stephon Gilmore would have a pick, and he did. He had the game sealing pick, pretty much just ended the game from there. And then I also predicted that we'd have a safety pick, which we didn't, but our safeties were kind of making plays all over. They held Jared Everett did score a touchdown, but I feel like again the tight end stopper wasn't on the tight end, and he makes a play. So I mean I can only even think we can call him that anymore when tight ends make plays every week, and he just happens to not be guarding them. So until J-Ron Curse starts actually shutting down tight ends on each play, I mean, he can't we're gonna have to take that nickname away from him. But I don't want to harp too much on the team. It was a win. We have a win is a win, and it's not like the Chargers are a bad team. That's definitely a team with a good quarterback, with a good
They're
defense, a good.
talented.
They're very talented. I mean, they have named players all across the board. So definitely proud of the guys for getting a win there, and definitely a great thing to get into going into the bye week. But what were some of your predictions that you got right?
Well, as y'all know, I undersell, absolutely undersell these the prediction just because I was like, well, maybe if I undersell, they'll overperform, which you could 100% say they did. I said Dak for 205 and 2 touchdowns, 272 and 2 touchdowns, plus the run yards he had. I said CD for 55 and 1 touchdown. He didn't have he had 7 for 117, 7 catches for 117. And speaking of the point that we thought that the Gallup touches would be his touches, I truly believe if you throw CD that post that you threw to Gallup, that's a touchdown. I mean, there's got to be a touchdown either way. He's got to catch that, but
Definitely.
it is what it is. I say Gallup for 40 yards. He had 24. If he even caught half the passes he was throwing, he would have had more. He would have more than that. I say Cooks for 35 yards. He had 36 yards and a touchdown. And then you said he had 14 rushing yards as well. I thought we'd have a tight end touchdown. Didn't have a tight end touchdown. Luke Shoemaker is just. It looks like it just him coming to our team just hasn't panned out. 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 touchdown. Cool. Never ever. That was what was that the first game?
No, I think it might have been against the
Second.
Jets or somebody. It wasn't the
Well,
first game.
oh yeah, I think it was against the Jets. Regardless, that just doesn't make sense. We're in week 8. Well, I mean, we had our bye, but still, like, come on now. I thought TP would have 48 yards and a touchdown, and then 30. He had 30 rushing yards and 8 receiving. So, technically, he had receiving game, but running game has been non-existent. Like you said, 15 for 30, 2 yards a carry. It's not going to cut it, you know. And I thought Mike would have 2 sacks. He only had one, but hey, if that's the sack you're going to get, I'm okay with you just
Definitely.
having one. I said we'd
Absolutely.
have one pick, didn't know who. Ended up being Gilly. Like I said, if you're only going to have one pick, it's a great time to have one pick. I thought we'd
Absolutely.
have 4 sacks. We only had one, but they, like you said, credit to Justin Herbert, gets the ball out. If the quarterbacks would just stay in the pocket sometimes and just wait 1 more second, we'd get a lot more sacks. But hey, kudos to him. Then I still we win 28-17. We won 2017. But hey, those are my predictions. Maybe for when we get into the Rams game, I'll undersell again and just hope for the best. Maybe they like to prove me wrong. Who knows? But let's transition. Go ahead, take us to the next step.
So with this being our bye week and the trade deadline coming up, it'll be this Tuesday coming up, October 31st, which is Halloween. It'll be the trade deadline, and obviously year in year out, the Cowboys' names are being thrown out there with a lot of big name players. Jerry's coming out saying one thing and then completely saying the opposite the next. And so you never know what the Cowboys are going to do when it comes to trade deadline. Obviously, we every year I'd say most years this not a team where that always makes big splash plays, but each year we try to make some small plays. Like last year, we brought in Jonathan Hankins around the trade deadline. But the last time we made a big trade was 2018 when we traded for Amari Cooper from the Raiders for a first round pick. And I mean, since then we've been kind of. I mean, we haven't really needed much. Obviously, well, it's always been you can always upgrade your team, but right now as a time more than ever that we can upgrade our team. Like as much as I like our guys, it's not like they're the best in the league that they just can't get any better. So I mean, one time I know Jerry has literally said at one point that we won't be making any trades unless teams reach out to us. Which I mean, I don't understand. He can't honestly believe that he can make any type of decent trade, any type of big trade when you think teams are going to reach out to you. Why would a team come to you and say, "Hey, here's our best player. What can you give for him?" Like that's kind of not how that works. A team that's a contender trying to make that big step to get them over the hump, and y'all are going to have to do the reaching out. And I know he kind of takes that as it puts him at a disadvantage in the trade negotiations, but that's kind of where you're at. You're proposing the trade. You are going to get a little less of a better deal because the gain for you is a lot more in that sense. So I just think that I just hope the Cowboys do make a trade because, like I said, I do think we're very close to getting over that hump. There's a couple big name players that I feel like would put us there, but I'm gonna let you start it off. Who are some guys you think that we could trade for that would they can make a real impact on this team and put us in position to win?
Well, off rip, I just PS2, because if you move PS2 to CB1, it may Gilly back to your CB2, and then that's when we were having the most success. I know it was a small sample size of him and Diggs together, but I liked Diggs on their receiver ones, and I love PS2 on their receiver ones, and then I moved Deron Bland back into the slot, which don't get me wrong, Deron Bland can play around pretty much everywhere, but that's his that's where he came in the league. That's where he led the league in picks. So it's like, I like him in the slot, but if that doesn't happen, of course, I can't think of too many others where it's like, oh yeah, we need that right now. Maybe I don't know how many offensive linemen are on the, trade block right now, but like you said, Jerry, I know Jerry's gonna not really, he doesn't want to reach out because don't get me wrong, Cowboys tax is a real thing. It is. It's hard to get over. It's just like Lakers tax. It is what it is. People don't want to trade with us, and if they do, they're gonna get as much as they possibly can, and they're willing to trade the same player to somebody else for less than in us. And it is what it is, just because we're the Cowboys, and you got to deal with that. You got to if you want the Super Bowl as bad as you say, you got to make those kind of plays. As soon as I heard PS2, what do you want for him? You want
Right.
a first? Do you
I would
want
trade it.
how you want a first? You want a second? What do you want? What's the price? Now, of course, if it's just outrageous, like 3 firsts and 4 seconds. Okay, I mean,
Yeah,
got it,
relax.
but there's no way that's what the trade will be like. You can look at the teams like the Eagles and be like, okay, they lose one game, they go get an all-pro safety. They don't mess
Man,
around. I hate the Eagles with every inch, every bone in my body. But
right.
I
It
can I,
hurts
I
to
have to
watch
come
that.
in their front office. I have to. They're 5-1, and then you got an all-pro safety. Like, come on. That's like I would love to be a fan of a team that does that. I'd never love to. I'm not gonna say I'd love to be a fan of the Eagles. Never. I'd love to be a fan of a team who makes those kind of decisions, makes winning decisions. Even I don't care if we were 6-0. That if we can get better, get better.
And the thing is, even if it doesn't work out, at least you're making an attempt to get better. Because, like, obviously, not everything's not going to be perfect. Because even Kevin Byard for the Eagles, he was an All Pro in 2021. There's no guarantee he's the same All Pro player, but you're trying. You're gonna put him. You're gonna hope that he's the same All Pro player. You're gonna put him around other players that have been successful and to hope he can thrive in your system. And it's just the attempt at the very least the attempt to get better when you think you have a chance, in my opinion. But keep
And
continue.
that's the thing with Gilly or in Brandon Cook. Hey, I respect y'all tried. And if it works out, it
Definitely.
works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at least you tried. I can respect that. I'm just not respecting that PS2 is on the trade block and we're not making no calls. I also see Derrick Henry linked to us. I doubt that that's real, but if it is, I mean, I'm big on the power running back. I was a big Zeke guy.
Definitely.
We got I mean, don't get me wrong, big fan of Tony Pollard, but those short yard gains that we're not getting, I feel like Zeke gets those and Derrick Henry for sure gets those. So if that were to happen, I'd be happy with that too. And then we could go back unless we had to trade Tony Pollard. If not, I mean, we could go to that 1-2 punch, have them both in the backfield. And then it's like, who are we going to run? We got speed and power. And then we have, it doesn't hurt having a plethora of options to beat a team with, or a plethora of options to try to get to beat teams. But how do you feel about that?
I mean, you hit it right. You hit the nail right on the head. Those are the exact two people I was going to name. I think both players are obviously not both a trade to the same, but one or the other. I think if we get PS2, it'll put our defense right to back what it was when we had Diggs out there, and that's exactly. I mean, obviously, it might could it just be coincidence, but Diggs' injury is exactly when we lose Diggs, and then we also have three O linemen now, but then we end up losing to the Cardinals. And I mean, ever since that game, in general, our defense just hasn't looked as dominant. We've still played pretty well. Like I said earlier, held the Chargers to only 17 points, but I mean they were completely demolishing teams when Diggs was out there. And I mean, so obviously, I think that we'll have a direct correlation on that. He is, in my opinion, the best corner in the entire NFL. So obviously, there's going to be some fall off there, but I think that with Patrick Surtain, I think he's one of the best corners in the league, so he'll put us right back to where we were with that defense. And then if we were to bring in Derrick Henry, it would put our offense back to what it was when we had Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard back there. That thunder and that lightning, that 1-2 punch. I mean, that's when our run game has been the most effective in the past
Boom.
few years. Exactly. So I think if Jerry wants to, because in my opinion, in 2021, that was when our offense had the best chance, and I think that's when we had our receiver room, we had our running game, and I think offensively that was our best chance to win a Super Bowl. And then we ended up losing to the 49ers. And then in 2022, I think defensively, that was when we had a better chance to win that Super Bowl. And then our defense wise in 2022, the one hole we had was our cornerback too, and so we went and got Stephon Gilmore. So if we had that, and then we would then from 2021 to 2022 offensively, we went from Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup to injured Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Noah Brown. So now with our offense being hopefully healthier Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks, I think our offense is back to that 2021. So if we can get in terms of the wide receivers, so if we bring in Derrick Henry, it could be that offense wise, and we can have our best chance, in my opinion, offensively and defensively, if we can kind of because even defensively now, I think our defense is better than we were last year with Noah Brown. with Anthony Brown being our cornerback two, even with Stephon Gilmore stepping up to cornerback one and Deron Bland having cornerback two with Jordan Lewis playing the slot, we're in a better position. So if we can make one of those big splashes, I think our team will be right there and we'll definitely be able to compete more with a team like the 49ers because obviously we haven't played the Eagles yet. I'm not going to say we can't compete with them, but I mean, they're beating some really good teams. They playing some really good football right now, as much as it hurts me to say. But
They
I
also are
mean,
barely beating bad teams, though. Let's not act like
that's
they're
true.
just killing the bad teams.
That is absolutely true. They haven't really killed anybody, but I mean, you don't get more points for killing teams. A win is a win.
That's
So
real.
they
That's
beat the
real.
bad teams and they beat the good teams. Although they did lose to the
Jets. So, I mean, and I do want to point out that we beat the Jets and Jalen Hurts threw 3 interceptions. The game went, the second one he threw should have been the game losing interception. Zach Wilson just couldn't move the ball, gave it back to him, and he threw another interception, and they didn't even give Zach Wilson a chance. They just ran it all the way back and then ran in with Brees on the next play. So, definitely want to point that out and point out that he's leading the league in interceptions. But that's another topic. We're just going to move on. I mean, actually, that transitioned us right into the next topic. We're just going to take a look at the entire NFC right now with the season, with our bye week kind of being the halfway point of our season. Right now, the Eagles are first in the division at 5-1. We are tied with the 49ers and the Lions at 4-2. And don't really matter to anybody after that. It doesn't really matter to us right now. Well, those are kind of the teams we're competing with right now. I mean, no. I mean, like I said, just the Eagles lost to the Jets, and then the 49ers, they just lost back-to-back games against the Browns and then the Vikings, and both of those teams were pretty injured. I know a lot of people are that's what the excuse narrative is going around for the 49ers since they're playing without Deebo Samuel, they're playing without Trent Williams, and then against the Browns were without Christian McCaffrey for majority of the game, but the Browns are without Deshaun Watson and Nick Chubb, and then the Vikings, they're without Justin Jefferson, so the injury excuse, if you're going to use it, it has to go both ways. And in that sense, it cancels out. So I think that the NFC right now is wide open. What are your thoughts on how the season is shaping up across the league?
Well, I just do know that the Eagles and the 49ers lost at a perfect time. That was big for us. We had just come off a win, and then the 49ers lost again. Oh man, I wanted the Dolphins to beat the Eagles bad. If they had beat them, oh boy, we would be in for a great season to end it. We play the Eagles next week at Philly, and so there's going to be that game is going to matter. I will say I've seen our schedule. I've seen the Eagles schedule. We pretty much have kind of like the same schedule, but the only thing about that is all their tough games are at home. But I mean, they did get to a Super Bowl, I guess. But I feel like that's like giving them, I feel like that's giving them a pass because they made a Super Bowl. But I feel like you lost. You don't. If it was like the Chiefs that got a whole bunch of home games against the tough teams, cool. I mean, you won the Super Bowl. You know, like they're giving crazy prizes for making it. It's like, but I still like us. There's like you said, it's wide open, but we don't got to dwell too much on this. The only thing I have to say is I saw Joy Taylor talking about Jalen Hurts, and what she said was it was actually disgusting because and that's what Micah's talking about. She literally said, Jalen Hurts, you've been throwing picks, but I give you a pass. Okay. Why? Why does Dak get Dak's never gotten a pass? The other quarterbacks in the league have never gotten a pass. Jalen Hurts Justin Herbert has gotten passes. Josh Allen's gotten passes. Lamar doesn't get passes. Dak doesn't get passes. I mean, Patty's the best in the league, so you just put him out of there. There's a lot of people in the league who don't get passes like that. I know Justin Fields wouldn't have got no passes, but I would it just doesn't make. She gonna say, I know you throw a lot of picks right now, but please stop. Like, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Please stop. Like, what are we talking about here? This is crazy. Like, you're asking this man to please stop throwing picks.
And it's not
I know they're 5-1, but you're throwing picks still.
He's fumbling the ball, throwing the ball to the other team. He's a turnover machine at this point.
If that's what a turnover machine is, unless we don't really care about turnover, but you can't have it both ways. Exactly. You can care about them or you don't. Because they're like, but he's still 5-1. Whatever.
Exactly. Dak he had a winning record in games. He threw an interception in last year too, but who cared? That wasn't even a thought on people's mind last year when the only narrative was, oh, he's leading the league in interceptions. He's terrible. Why don't that's what and that lets us transition right into the next statement, which is Micah Parsons, and he's getting into it with the media, asking people to keep the same energy and if you're gonna, and that's the thing people aren't getting. I don't know if they're not getting it, if they're just choosing not to get it. It's like every time one of the national media heads gets on and talks about it, they start off talking about how Micah doesn't want criticism for losing to the 49ers or to losing to the Cardinals. That is not what he is saying. He is saying, yes, criticize us when we lose to the Cardinals or when we lose to the 49ers. But when the Eagles lose to the Jets, the same team we beat, keep that same energy for them. When Dak Prescott throws 3 interceptions against the Cardinals, when Dak Prescott throws 3 interceptions against the 49ers and y'all are calling him terrible, keep that same energy for Jalen Hurts when he throws 3 interceptions against the Jets. Because when we beat the Jets, it was, of course, it's just Zach Wilson and the Jets, they're not that good. But when Jalen Hurts and them lost to the Jets, it was, well, the Jets do have that good of a defense. Well, which one is it? That's what he means by keep the same energy. What are your thoughts on that whole situation?
No, yeah, you're right. Like, if you would keep the same energy, if you treated, and it's like, oh, they're acting like he's acting like he doesn't like bullies. No, what he doesn't like is Dak can throw 3 picks. He's the worst quarterback in the league. Hurts throw me picks. Please stop. You get a pass. We beat the Jets. They lose to the Jets. Oh, their defense is they weren't good. Their defense is crazy. The 49ers lose to the Browns. We lose to the Cardinals. No, you should have beat them. It's Josh Dobbs. Okay. Diggs was hurt. Now what? They don't really want to bring that up. And that's what it is. It is what it is. That's what we've been going through for years now. It's pretty crazy. But when they keep the same energy, he won't say it. He won't care because it's like, okay, at least they're treating everybody the same.
I'd have to find the tweet, but literally the Bills, they just lost to Mac Jones and the Patriots. And people are saying, oh, it's because Bill Belichick's the greatest coach. I was just giving them a pass. When we beat Mac Jones and the Patriots, they literally had segments on ESPN asking if Bill Belichick should still be the coach of the Patriots, if he was as good as if he was that good of a coach. They questioned his status as one of the greatest coaches of all time because he lost us. That's how far they'll go to invalidate a Cowboys win. And that's what Micah's talking about when he says keep the same energy. I just don't understand how they just don't get it. But that's
the thing is they do, but they just act like they don't. There's no way you don't get it. It's blatant. It's clear. As soon as Jalen Hurts' 3-pick game came. It came at a perfect time. Absolutely. Because it was literally the game. It was the same weekend. Wait, we played Sunday night. I think they played Monday night. We played the 49ers that night. He played the Jets. Dak threw his 3-pick. Okay, the week after. Dak threw his 3 picks. Shady on Twitter. Pick. Do you think he said that about Jalen Hurts when he threw his 3 picks? Right. He might have deactivated his Twitter. I don't know, because I didn't see any tweet from him. I didn't see a pick tweet. Well, where's the same energy? You're supposed to be an analyst. You're supposed to be unbiased, right? You're supposed to be, and don't get me wrong, you're on the Eagles. You could like Jalen Hurts, but like, dang, Jay, that's 3 picks. Even if he went onto the record, it was like, and he trying to act like Dak right now. He at least acknowledged the 3 picks. It's almost like you don't even want to say nothing about him. And that's the thing. He's still not even acting like Dak. Because Dak doesn't lead the league in picks. Dak's only thrown 4, and that's with 3 picks coming in one game. Jalen Hurts has already thrown 8. So, but hey, he almost thrown more picks in one game than Dak has all season. Whatever, neither here nor there. We're going to transition to our predictions of the Rams game before we get out of here. We got the Rams coming up. They have a pretty 2 good receivers. Puka Nacua has had a great rookie year so far. When Cooper Kupp was hurt, but Cooper Kupp back now. What are your predictions?
So I predict that Dak is going to throw for 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think Tony Pollard will have 80 yards and a touchdown. I think we'll try to be able to. I think we'll be able to open the run game, and we'll definitely try to commit to it early and stick and find him some yards and the touchdown there. I think CD will. Hopefully, they can figure out how to. Every week, that's how I'm going to predict, and with the hopes that they figure things out and get him to be the focal point of that offense. And I'm going to predict that he has 8 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown. I think that in the sense that because Michael Gallup had a lot of targets with no catches last game, I think they'll make an attempt to get him a lot of targets again so he can kind of make up for that, which I'm hoping they don't do, but just knowing our team and what I can definitely see that happening. So I'm thinking he'll have 60 catches, 50 yards in the touchdown, because I think he will play better. He did have a pretty bbad game last week, so I'm hoping he'll be able to bounce back. I think that Brandon Cooks will have 5 catches and 65 yards now that he's gotten his beak wet, gotten a touchdown on under his belt. I think we'll try to work him into the offense a lot more. I think that we'll have the last Dak touchdown will come from the tight ends, because you know how we run our offense. Those tight ends are always going to get a lot of usage. I think Michael get 2 sacks, because right now I know that Defensive Player of the Year is definitely a award that he wants. But right now, it's definitely Myles Garrett. I wouldn't even say Michael would be second, and that might even have to go to TJ Watt. So I'm definitely hoping. He's in the media a lot. He's talking a lot, so he needs to back it up a lot. I know he knows that. So I'm here hoping he'll get back on track, get him 2 sacks, and can get his name out there on the board. Because right now, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt are running away from him. So I think that D-Law will have a sack. I think that one of our safeties will have a pick. I think that Puka Nacua, like you mentioned, and Cooper Kupp will definitely give Deron Bland and Stephon Gilmore a hard time on Sunday. I think they're going to be in for a long morning after a long afternoon, because we have the early game, we have the noon game. So I think they're going to be in for a long game, but I think that'll put our safeties in position to kind of get some stuff. I think, like I mentioned earlier, Stephon Gilmore kind of struggled with some of those crossing routes, and that's what Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua love to do. So the Rams are going to do that a lot. We're going to need a lot of help from the outside on our safeties, from over top, and kind of on the outside when they get out to those crossing routes. So I think one of our safeties will come away with the pick, and I think that we'll win the game 28-10.
Okay, I have Dak. I'm gonna go with the underselling thing again. Let's just see what happens. I want Dak for 215. I did say 3 touchdowns, but I know what he's capable of. He's capable for more, but I'm going CD for 65 and a touchdown, which should never happen. He should never have under 8 catches. 10. He should never have under 10 targets. He should never have under 7 catches. He should never have under 80 plus yards, but we'll see what happens. I have Gallup for 45, even though, like you said, we're big on if you dropped a pass or dropped a pick, you usually come back with a pick or a good game. So, but I'm still only going 45. I do think he'll end up scoring based on him trying to make it up. I think Cooks will have 50 yards. I feel like we might hit him on one long pass for 30 or something. I think we'll have a tight end touchdown, of course. I think TP will have 55 yards rushing and then a touchdown. I think Michael will have 2 sacks. I think we'll have 2 picks as a whole. I don't really know who. If I had to guess, let's just say Deron Bland, and I'm gonna go Jordan Lewis, just because they are big on slots. And then I said we'd have 3 sacks overall, and then I think we'll win 30-17.
All right, so those are our predictions, and then hopefully. Feel like this is definitely a big week for us coming out of the bye. You definitely want to get a win. You had a week to rest, had a week to kind of recover. So this will be a big game for the Eagles game, which is going to be a gigantic game. If we can get a win against them, we'll go to number 1 in the NFC East, just because we'll have the same record, but a better record division wise. So hopefully a win there will be a win in Philly at that will definitely be huge for us, because then all we have to do is take care of business at home, and we'll be able to come out on top of the NFC, because like I said earlier, it's wide open right now. Also, we didn't mention earlier that the Lions lost to the Ravens as well. Everyone was looking at them as one of the best teams. One of the segments on that was on ESPN, Kevin Wildes, literally was talking about how upset he was that we were always talking about the Cowboys and this and that, and said, "Oh, are the Cowboys as good as the Lions?" And then at the time we couldn't really say we were because of the losses that we had. But then Nick Wright was like, "Well, are the Eagles as good as the Lions?" And then you couldn't really say they were just because of the way the Lions have been playing. So I want to also shout out to Nick Wright for he's been great on it. He's been one of the only people to kind of agree with Micah in a sense that the people need to keep the same energy and kind of defend the Cowboys when we really need it, because like we said, it's always going to be everybody against the Cowboys. But that's going to be another episode. We touched on a lot of different things. Obviously, it's a longer episode, but we have plenty of stuff to talk about this week. But until next week, guys, just keep liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, hit that notification bell for us so you post, and tell all your friends about us. We appreciate all the support, and we're gonna keep going for you guys. But I'm Orlando,
and I'm Omar.
We're the Smart Bros,
and this is the Smart Take.